This week's edition of Church Media Design TV is sponsored by Print Management Solutions and their eConcierge software. Download your free copy at CMD.tv/freeprint. Welcome to another edition of Church Media Design TV, tips, tricks, and how-to for you, the Church Media Designer. Well, I'm your host, Brad Zimmerman, and I am joined every week by my favorite bobble-headed friends. You got it right. We got Jamie and Adam from the Mythbusters. We got Dwight Schrute, the King of the Office. We got Little Whitey, the miniature version of me. And we have Jesus Christ, the Son of the Lord Most High. Well, in this week's edition, I'm going to be diving into InDesign to show you how to make a church directory and some tips I learned along the way working with InDesign. I know a lot of us don't necessarily do InDesign every day, or we're not print people by trade, but maybe we have to do print every once in a while. So I'm going to show you how to do some things along the way that are going to really help speed up the process for you and automate it as much as you possibly can so that you don't have to spend more time in print than you want to. And if you want to spend time in print, this will make you a lot better at it. It definitely made me better at it, as well as we have a ton of great resources for you, some awesome inspiration. So if my favorite bobbleheaded friends are ready, let's get into it. Well, let's reach into the stockpile and grab some great resources for you and your church. And the first one is for anyone who gets obscure video files that they're supposed to play inside ProPresenter or Media Shout or a program like that. And you're like, this file type doesn't work in there. And you open up your standard QuickTime or Adobe Media Encoder, and that program doesn't even handle the file type. And you're like, what do I do? Well, then you go online and you start typing and saying, I really want to find a program to convert these files. And you find all sorts of weird programs that install shareware and spyware on your computer, and you don't know what to trust. Well, this program is definitely worth checking out. It's called Adapter. It's totally free. It's for the Mac and the PC, so you can use it on both. And it's can convert from any file type to any other file type. And you can see it works with tons of different image file types like VCD files or video CD files, ROQ files, which I've never heard of, null files, which I thought null was just a null and not a video format, OGG, MP4, some of your standard formats, but it also does all these crazy weird ones. So you can convert from that to a standard MP4, or if you have a weird phone that needs weird video types, you can go from MP4 to that weird video type. So Adapter is definitely worth your time to check out. Now, next up is for anyone doing web development. If you're doing web design and you find yourself using some of the new HTML5 and CSS3 properties like rounded corners or gradients or anything like that, you may find out that there's a lot of coding involved, and sometimes you end up copying and pasting, and if you did it wrong once, you don't want to copy and paste the wrong thing over and over again. Well, that's where some awesome web apps come into play, and Chris Coyer over at css-tricks.com, who I highly respect, just posted about the web apps he actually uses, because there's tons out there, but these ones are the ones that he actually uses for web design. So let's check these out. So here we have CSS3 Please. We have border-radius.com, which you can do your rounded corners, and all you do is type in the amount and it makes the code for you. You just copy and paste it. Then a site he created, HTML Ipsum, which is basically a bunch of common HTML markup. So you have like an empty table, you have an ordered list, you have an example form, all that kind of stuff. We got scriptsource.net and copypastecharacters.com, and then his button maker, which helps you make some really nice buttons. So if you're doing any sort of web development and want to check out web apps that are actually useful, make sure to check that story out. Next up is for anybody doing design. You know that always a good font will help you jumpstart yourself into a great design. So Vandelay Design has 25 vintage and retro fonts, starting with Airstream, and we have Deftone Stylus. These all have a really cool retro vibe, come fly with me kind of vibe to it. And we got Riesling. Also, it's got kind of like the old school horror movie posters, so if you want to get that, this is True Crimes. So there's 25 different great fonts for you to use, even some old school Western fonts that are worth your time and are still kind of vintage, I guess you could call them. Well, last but not least is for anyone doing music or helping out with music, and you want to suggest a song to your worship leader, but they might come back to you and say, well, I don't have time to learn all those parts, or you're helping teach musicians and you don't have time to sit down with them and teach them every single part of every song. Well, this is a great resource. It's from Hillsong Collected, which we've talked about before. They've actually released all of the bass, keyboard, guitar, and drum parts for their entire new album, God is Able, for free via YouTube. And on their website, they have them all listed. So you can see here on the Collective Creative area, they have God is Able guitar parts. So you can see here we have, the lead guitar, the rhythm guitar, for all of these different songs, so you can see what each guitarist is doing. If we go back to the homepage, we can see, we can check out all the drum parts, and you can see it's a nice shot of the drummer and what he's using. You can see their crazy synth pad that the drummer uses. So yeah, it's pretty rad. So. Well, if you want to find links to all of these plus more, make sure to check out the show notes at cmd.tv/134. You can find all of the links to all of those different websites and web apps in the show notes, so go check those out today. Well, before we move on, let's say thank you to our sponsor of Print Management Solutions and their free eConcierge software powered by Xerox. Now, with eConcierge, you can see all of the printers on your network, not just Xerox printers. You can tell when their supplies are low, and you can even order supplies from right inside the software. This takes the hassle out of going to a big box store to see if your supplies are in stock or if they even know which printer you have. eConcierge has you covered. Also, if you're a Xerox printer owner, you're actually going to get a free warranty when you start using the eConcierge software. Now, you can download this free software from cmd.tv/freeprint, and you can also head over to Print Management Solutions website, find out about all of their other products and services, and you can even find out more about the free print supply software on their site and find out where you can download, who it works with, and ask more questions. So check out printmanagementsolutions.biz. Well, this week we're going to be talking about InDesign, and I know for many of you, you don't use InDesign all the time. I know I don't use InDesign all the time, and so I'm going to give you some tips of what I learned along the way in doing InDesign, because normally I do regular graphic design or do motion graphics, and print is kind of third or fourth or 18th on my list of things that I enjoy doing. And so print's becoming more and more fun to me. I think InDesign is a super powerful program, and I keep uncovering new features that make me want to use it even more often. Now, in the past, we've actually talked about this on another episode, so make sure to check that one out, because I'm going to kind of breeze through some of the things that we've already discussed in past InDesign episodes. So what we're going to be talking about today is how to do a directory, which again isn't something that you normally do. You do it like once a year, and it's something that you probably have an administrator who's keeping up a database for you, but putting that into print form and handing it out to everyone, or that sort of thing, isn't something that you commonly do. So let's learn some tips on how to make this a lot easier for you in the future here. So check this out. This is my mailing list here. So this is the database that I would have for your church or whatever. So what we have here is just a standard Excel file. I'm using Google Docs because it's free, but this is just a standard spreadsheet, and in our first row we have all of our headers. So we have first name, spouse, address, city, state, zip code, phone number, kids, and @photos. Now, what @photos is it allows you to bring in a image field into InDesign, and you have to put an @ before it, or else InDesign doesn't recognize it as a image file. It'll just recognize it as text. So, all this stuff is really straightforward, but let's check out what's going on with the images here. Basically, this needs to be the URL to your image on your local machine. So what we can do here is we'll minimize, and you'll see I have some generic placeholders. So let's say we wanted to use this woman one. So I'm going to do properties, and you're going to see here we have our first part of our file. So this is where it's located, and then it's called woman1, and it's a .png. So I'm going to copy this and hit OK, and then I'm going to go back up to my web browser, and let's just say for this one, we're going to paste this in, and we're going to say /woman1.png. So you would go through and take care of all of your images, get them all inside a folder, and then you could easily just go through and paste this in over and over again, and then just add in, is this the Zimmermans, or is this the Brads, or is this the Jehosaphatins, or whoever. I don't even know what word that means. Okay, so you can use any program to do this. If you're using some sort of church database system, all that kind of stuff, they should all work. The key is that you have to export a CSV file or a comma-separated values file. So we're going to go to File, we're going to go Download As, and we're going to do CSV. So this is a very common format. We're just going to say download, and it's downloading our mailing list file here. Okay, so now let's hop inside InDesign. So what we're going to do first inside InDesign is make our placeholder of our name address field. Now I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time helping you design one that looks awesome. I'm going to show you some tricks so that you can spend a ton of time without going over and over and over and over it all. So what we're going to do first is we're going to grab a little text field here. We're just going to drag it out, and we're going to type in a name. So what I normally do is I use my own name and my wife's name to create this and our address and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to do Brad and Autumn Zimmerman and our address, which isn't really our address, so don't try to come find me. I'm just putting in a placeholder one here. I really could just type in whatever, but it helps sometimes to have the sizing correct just so you can see what it will all look like. Okay, and then we can throw in a phone number. I'm not going to tell you my real phone number. Sorry about that. And we also had two more fields in there. We had a field for kids and we had a field for photo. So let's say we had a kid, and we would do it right here. So we do children, and we would do kid 1, comma kid 2. And for the photo, we're going to put that above our name, and we're going to just do it right here, and we'll just say photo. Okay, so that's where our photo is going to get brought in. So now let's start styling this to make it look good. Now the first thing you should always do when you open up InDesign and you start working with text is define your basic paragraph style. So I'm going to go over here to paragraph styles, and I'm going to click on basic paragraph, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change my base format. We're going to get rid of Times New Roman, and we're going to go today with Myriad Pro because I don't have tons of fonts on this machine. We're going to kick our font size down to nice, like an 11, and we'll leave the leading and kerning where it's at, and we'll hit OK. So now we have a nicer looking block of text. So next we need to define some individual styles from that for our different things, like our name, our phone number, just things we want to stand out a little bit differently. So I'm going to select my name here, and we're going to go to character styles, and I'm going to find a new character style. So we'll call this name, and we're going to go to base character format, and we're going to find again our Myriad Pro, not Minion, Myriad, there we go. And let's go with, we could go with like bold condensed maybe, or we could go with semi-bold. How about we do, or we could go with bold. Let's go with bold, and let's take our size up to like 12, so it's a bit bigger than everything else, and we'll call that okay. And so now let's do some other things. Let's maybe do semi-bold for our kids. So let's do a new style for this. We'll call this kids, and here we're just going to do semi-bold, and we'll leave the style the same. So that's good. And then last but not least, let's do a different style for our address, even if we leave it the same, we're still going to give it a style right now. So we'll call this one address, and we'll just hit OK for now. And then we'll do this for our phone. One more style here for phone. And for phone, let's do, again, let's make sure it's on Myriad. There we go. And let's go with a bold condensed italic, or maybe we do semi-bold italic. There we go. For the phone number, just so it stands out a little bit different. And the only other thing is we don't have something for children title, so we're going to call this one children title and hit OK. Now we haven't done anything to that, but that's okay. So now that we've gone through and styled all of this, now we can actually go in and do our data merge and bring in all of our stuff. So what I'm going to do here is just bring in my little box. This really doesn't matter, to be honest. We'll do this like as half the column. And so now we're going to go to data merge. And if you don't have this down here in your list, you can go to window and you can go to automation and then hit data merge, and that'll come up. So we're going to go here and we're going to do select data source, and we're going to go find our mailing list and hit open. And now you can see it's brought in all of our different things, including that photos. So we're going to do that one first. So I'm going to just select my photo, and I'm going to click on photos. And oops, let's select just our photo and hit photos. And now you can see we have a little box here, which we can resize and make any size we want. So let's maybe click on this guy, and I don't like working in points or picas. I like working in inches. So we're going to say we want this to be, I don't know, we want this to be 2 by 2. There we go. So there's our little 2 by 2 graphic. And now let's start putting in our different names here. So we're going to do Brad is our first name. Autumn is our spouse. Zimmerman, last name. Let's do here, kid 1, kid 2, and kids. Do address, city, state. So this takes just a second. And zip code, and last but not least, we'll do phone. So now we have all of our placeholders in, and as you can see here, all of our styles are staying the same. Now we can, maybe make this a little bit smaller, but again, I don't really care about that. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Actually, sorry, let's stay zoomed in. I'm going to hit preview. And you can see that we have Brad and Autumn Zimmerman, and we have our children, we have our address, we have our phone number, and it's all styled the way we want it to be styled. So now let's do a data merge and bring in all of our different assets. So I'm going to click on this little merge button down here in the corner, and this is going to bring up our merge document properties. And I'm going to say that I want to do a multiple records because I want to bring in multiple. It's going to use this again to create our multiple records layout. I can do a preview of our multiple records layout, and you can see that we have our different people in here and their different graphics and addresses. They're all styled exactly the same, and I'm going to hit OK because I like how that looks. Now, I didn't worry about margins with any of this. I didn't worry about some different pieces of it. You need to make sure to worry about those depending on what you do next. So it's going to tell me right now that there's no overset text, which means no text went beyond the bounding box. And we have our couple page document here. Now you'll see one interesting thing here. Page 1 has our couple different families on here. However, page 2 doesn't have anybody because, well, we didn't have photos for those people. Now, we actually ran into this with our church directory because we didn't get photos of everyone. If you get photos of everyone in your church and you have a photo for everyone, or you're doing a sheet for your leaders for your kids ministry, and it's like here's who all the kids are so you can memorize names. Okay, if you have a photo of every single person, the way I just did this will work perfectly. Just make sure to set up your margins and all of that stuff correctly, and it will create your entire document and you'll be good to go. But we ran into something funny at our church that we didn't have photos for everyone. So we had to go about this a little bit of a different way. And we also, not every family had kids. So you can see here, like, Brad and Autumn don't have kids, but Sean and Amy do, and Eric and Jamie do. I just made up random names for all this, just so you know. So some of these people have kids, but some of them don't. So what do you do with the people who don't have kids? You have to go back and delete and change all this stuff, which can become quite a bit of hassle. So what we're going to do first is we need to combine all of this stuff so that if we have something missing, that it changes the spacing on the layout. Now I'll explain this. So we're going to do this all again. So we're going to go back here. This time I'm not going to use the photo, and you'll see why in a minute. Because we don't have a ton of people with their photo, we're going to get rid of that. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so it's about the size that we want it to be. And now I'm going to do that create. Actually, we'll zoom out a little bit so we can see our multiple record layout. And so we're going to do multiple records, and we'll do preview. Okay, so it's churned out our multiple record layout here, and you can see all the different people. We can put, spacing between columns, and we can do rows or whatever first. This, again, looks okay to me for right now, and you'll see why. So I'm going to hit OK. And now you're going to see something interesting here. So the spacing on this looks all fine and dandy, except for the fact that what happens when I start getting rid of, like, children. Now there's a bigger gap here than there is over there, and the spacing starts to get a little bit different. And what happens if one person has a photo but somebody else doesn't, and all of that sort of thing. So let's see what we're going to do here. So the first thing that I did is I went online and I did some research, and I found this thing from Ajar Productions, and it is a merge text frames extension for InDesign. And what this does is it takes multiple text frames and merges it into one text frame together. Now, there are some limitations to this. It works on every page inside your document, so if you merge these all together and it's on tons of different pages, it'll work for that. The one thing it doesn't do is it doesn't retain your images, which is kind of a pain, but we'll just have to deal with it. So let's see how this works. So I went through the installation instructions on that site. I'm just going to go down to scripts where it's been installed, and underneath the application we have merge text frames. So we can do selected frames, or we can do current page or all pages. I'm just going to do all pages, and we're going to leave everything else the same. What we're going to do here, though, is instead of for our separator, we're going to do a hard return, and we're going to fit frame to merge content, selected selection size. I'm just going to uncheck both of those and hit OK. So what's happened now is that it has gone through and merged all of our text frames into one frame, one field together. Now I'm going to actually undo this because, and you'll see the magic of as I undo it. You have to undo a bunch here. So almost done. Okay, so that's all of it. It didn't put a whole space between it, and I would like a full space. So I'm going to have to put in 2 hard returns, and that will give me a full line break between. And now I'm going to hit OK. Oh, whoops. Let's go back. All pages, /r/r. Hit OK, and now it's gone through, and you can see that it has put a full space between all of them. Now the cool thing is I can pull this out to the size of a page, and I can go up here and I can say 2 columns, and look, we're back to a 2-column layout. But the cool part is, for somebody who doesn't have kids right now, you can just delete that and everything changes accordingly. So let's say that this person had 2 phone numbers listed. When I change this for them, it changes it for everyone, and it moves all of the text around for you. So now you can see how the text is flowing through. So now let's actually see how we would put images inside here. Now there's 2 different ways to do images. There's inline images and then there's just regular images. We're going to use inline because inline plays better because it's part of your text. It's in line with everything else versus a regular text image that's not a part of your text. You can move it anywhere and the text doesn't change its position. We want the image to move with its text. So what we're going to do is we're going to select right here. Let's just put it right above, and we're going to do File, and we're going to do Place, Control D. We're going to grab our couple, and we've now placed it right in line with the text. So now if I would check this out. So if I go up here and I put in a new something, it stays right in line with my text, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. So now we can go in and we can start adding in all of the different images that we want. So we have one for them, and then let's say maybe we have one for these people. So we're going to do Control D, and we're going to grab this couple. And then maybe, this person's actually just a guy. We'll get rid of, it's just him, and we'll go here and we'll just put the guy there. So we're starting to, bring all these in, and you can see how it's all coming together and how you're able to change it all. Now let's go back to why we put those character styles and paragraph styles on everything at the very beginning. Because what happens when you get to this point and you decide, man, the fonts are just all a little too small. We should have gone with 12 point. 11 point was a bad idea. Well, I can go to my paragraph style and I can double click. I'm going to go to my basic format and I'm going to set my size up to 12. And look at everything changes. And maybe we say that our name style is actually still a little bit too small. So we're going to go here and we're going to say we want this to be 14. We want it to be pretty big, or we want it to be 18 and we want it to be a different font. We want it to be the symbol font. No, don't ever use the symbol font. So you want to, you maybe want to make it a different font just so it stands out a little bit more. So you can start easily going through and changing everything inside all of your documents. Now, one last thing to help you with this, if you're wanting to lace together a bunch of different frames without actually merging them into one, there's one other tool that you can use that I found. I haven't extensively used it, but it has a lot of usefulness, so I want to make sure you guys know about it. It's called Text Stitch. What it actually does is it stitches together multiple text frames into one flowing text frame. Now, if you're not familiar with what this does, let's go back to InDesign. I'm going to go to Pages. I'm going to create a new page, and I'm going to go, let's just create a new text field here. And let's go over to this guy, and we're going to click on the little plus button. And then we're going to click on this field, and you'll see that it's brought all of the text into this field. So these are flowing together. So if I would make this smaller, Bill and Jill will get added over here to this field. So that's a way to flow your text together. So what this other plugin does here, let's check this out. So Text Stitch, we'll go down to some of these illustrations. So we have a bunch of different frames here. So all those frames we took in from our data merge, we can use Text Stitch to stitch them all together. So if one item gets deleted, it moves it back up to the next field. So if you have, you start doing your directory, or let's say you're using last year's directory and all you needed to do is make some minor changes and pull out 1 or 2 families that aren't a part of your church anymore, this will just automatically move them up into the correct order. So hopefully that was helpful for InDesign. I know that for me it helped save a lot of time. I was able to teach our administrative assistant how to do all of this stuff, so I found these tools and then said, here you go, use these tools to make it happen. So some interesting different things you can do, so make sure to check out all that stuff out. You can find the links to those different plugins and scripts and add-ons in the show notes at cmd.tv/134. So check all that stuff out and get done with your print project so you can get back to the other stuff you love or become even better at print. Well, this week's inspiration is a video for the Mentoring Project, which Donald Miller started and is to help get young men in the Portland, Oregon area mentors who need them because they want to see jails get emptied, and they want to do that by mentoring young boys so that they don't end up in that type of lifestyle. So this is a really awesome video. You can find this inspiration plus all sorts of more inspiration at CMD.tv/inspiration. All sorts of more? That's a terrible way to say that. Anyway, you can find tons more inspiration at CMD.tv/inspiration, but check out this video for the Mentoring Project.
If you live in a city, you may know a thing or two about waiting. Waiting for a ride, a lift, for something to pick you up. In the city, you wait for the lights to come on and the signs to flip, to be shown something new, to taste something great, and to hear something that is finally worth it. You wait because at the end of the line you're hoping for something brilliant, and because someone once told you that good things happen to those who wait. In Portland, Oregon, there are 1,000 fatherless boys waiting for mentors to pick them up. Take them to see a movie and just sit and talk about their day. In our city, there are 1,000 fatherless boys waiting for you to stop waiting.
Well, thanks for tuning in to another edition of Church Media Design TV. As you may have noticed, we've been a little lax on when episodes have been coming out lately. I'm going to try to move to a bi-weekly format. I'm currently in a really busy season. Our church is in the midst of our very first financial campaign for a facility we purchased and are renovating. So I'm moving from mobile church to non-mobile church here in the future. So there's a lot of different stuff going on with that, as well as some other projects. And I'm doing the Creation Swap update now monthly, so that's a great place to find church media news. So make sure to check that out. But there's always new content on the website. I'm not neglecting that, and I'm not done with the show. CMD is here to stay. So we're going to continue moving forward. We're just going to cut back on how many episodes we do a month. And we may be retooling some format and stuff like that to make it even better for you guys. So, yeah, so that's just kind of an update on where I'm at. If you guys want to find out more, you can check out the show notes at cmd.tv/134. That's where you're going to find all the links to everything we talked about today, as well as if you want to leave any questions or comments about today's episode, please do that in the show notes at cmd.tv/134. You can also hit me up and find me on Twitter. I'm at twitter.com/cmdtv, facebook.com/cmdtv, and gplus.to/cmdtv for my Google Plus profile. So you can find me in all of those places, as well as you can always email me, brad@ChurchMediaDesign.tv. So hopefully you guys learned a little something new today. So as for me and my favorite bobbleheaded friends, we're saying, see you later.